virtual reality or mixed reality, and the opportunities that are available in this space. This is, to me, one of the most exciting technology revolutions that we are embarking on. And so I'd love to share exactly what the opportunity is, explain a little bit about VR, XR, and even speak a little bit about the metaverse, as many of you have heard that term over the last couple of weeks, especially, and share what the opportunities look like and what potential next steps you may be able to take. If it's okay, I'm going to share my screen and just share. I put together a brief slide presentation. You'll see my head for a second here, and then I'd also like this to be as kind of conversational as possible. So I don't intend on presenting very long, and then hopefully we'll be able to have a chance to have a good conversation and answer questions and so forth as we go along. Again, my name is Paulo Nársiso. I'm the head of product development at AARP Foundation. AARP is one of the largest nonprofits in the US, focused predominantly on serving older adults. People who are 50 and older is really what our focus on in the US. And so we launch many products and services for the 50 plus, which I'm responsible for at the organization. And I've been working with VR, or what we call XR now, for several years, the last 4 years. And we launched a product last year called Alcove, and I'll show you that, which is it won the VR of the Year product award when we launched it, which is similar to the Oscars, but only for VR, not for movies. So just for a VR. So I'd like to walk you through a little bit of an introduction to XR and the metaverse, and talk about what does the pathway look like to be able to be involved in this industry and the opportunities, and then talk also about what next steps you might be able to take. So hopefully everybody could see my screen pretty well at this point.
Yes, we see your screen.
Great. We go ahead and move on to the next slide. Okay. Let's go next. Okay, XR stands for extended reality. So when you hear XR, it really covers what we call VR, which is virtual reality, AR, which is augmented reality, and MR, which is mixed reality. So all of the XR tech takes us to really talk about how the humans interact with PC or screen interfaces. And you do that either by immersing yourself in a virtual environment, which is virtual reality, or it adds to your physical environment, which is called augmented reality, and to your surroundings. And really, technically, both of these are called mixed reality. You can have all of those together, and that's really what XR is. So I don't like to talk about VR specifically or AR specifically. All of this to me is what is XR. And then you build applications that are either VR only applications, or AR only applications, or both, or create these applications that are both. This is a good example of mixed reality here. If you notice, this car is a physical thing, right? It's a physical car. And these are two physical humans, which is great. But they're working in a virtual reality space together, which is this environment that you see here, because this person on my left and this person that you see on the right of the screen might be in two very, very separate physical spaces entirely. And then they're working with physical tools that allows them to combine all of this together. So that is, in essence, a great example of what mixed reality is. And every single one of these elements in this picture is using AR technology, virtual reality technology as well, and other technologies, which I'll speak about in a second. A quick history of virtual reality, because it's fairly new. If you notice on my timeline, it really only starts in 2010. That's not too long ago, where the first Oculus Rift prototype was actually developed. And also Google in 2010 introduced the cardboard, really more of the 3D mode to be able to look at street view and maps and so forth. And this is really much more focused on kind of the consumer world. Palmer Luckey, who invented Oculus Rift, also launched a Kickstarter campaign that raised millions of dollars to be able to build the actual Oculus Rift, which is a headset that is before this one. And then there's also development by Google of the Google Glass, and then a whole different kinds of companies jumped in. Facebook acquired Oculus, and then they launched the 360 video, which is available on your Facebook app. YouTube introduced the ability to put 360 also into a YouTube video. You see a lot of headsets that are being integrated. And now when you look at the many of the press releases, you'll hear about Facebook changing its name to Meta and changing its entire business model to support the metaverse, and Microsoft following with multiple announcements, and obviously NVIDIA launching a platform to be able to support all of this, both from a hardware perspective and to be able to support the AI that's required in the virtual reality space. So it's a very young industry, which is exciting because we're all in the very beginning of it. And I like to always tell people that it's best to be at the beginning, right, than at the end of a particular industry. And one of the very fun things about VR and XR, it's that it doesn't really matter where you're located. And we learned that also in the pandemic. Even the folks that are being recruited to do this work are really all over the world. And it's an opportunity to be able to be creators and architects of what the coming metaverse is, regardless of where you're located in the world. In the previous revolutions of technology, it's been very focused on the digital north, the Western world or Europe specifically, but this is much more broader than that. And that's what's so exciting about this. We're at the very beginning, but at the same time, it's expanded our ability to work virtually, right? And to be able to do this remotely. You'll hear the term metaverse a lot, and I'll talk about that as well. Because I think it's important, and when we look at this opportunity, that we don't see it just as a virtual reality or AI from a technology standpoint, but to be able to understand what is actually trying to be created, what's the vision that's out there, the revolution that's happening. I put a very easy definition of the metaverse, and I'll try to explain it a little bit better. But the metaverse is a shared virtual 3D world, or potentially many worlds, that you're going to interact with. It's going to be immersive, and it's going to be collaborative. It's not that different than the physical world with many different collections of spaces. This is just going to be in a virtual world, but it goes a little bit broader than that. And that's the what I'd like to convey about this particular opportunity, because the metaverse actually combines three different technologies, really. Blockchain, which is very important, and you've heard that now, what Web 3.0 is going to become, and then also virtual reality, and it's going to combine all of those together. So let me explain, and I'll explain this by giving you a history of the web. And so that way it hopefully helps you understand what the opportunity is to be part of the metaverse, not as consumers, which is fun, hopefully at some point, but to be the architects, to be the creators in these particular worlds itself, which is my goal, is to get more and more people with diverse backgrounds to be included in building this particular new technology revolution. So let me explain the metaverse by explaining kind of how we got here from a historical perspective. So this, what you see on my screen, is the very, very first web page. When the internet launched many, 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 many years ago, which fortunately I was alive when the internet launched. Many of you were not yet born, but this is the first page. It has a bunch of links that you could link to. The links look exactly like this page with very simple HTML language that's used in the web. And that's about it. You have very little interaction with it, except for being able to click and move on to the next page. Look very similar to this. This is what we are today, right? With Web 2.0. This is YouTube. And this content is all user-generated content, which is really what Web 2.0 is about. It's interactivity. It's being able to generate user content. And that's where we are today with Web 2.0. So what does Web 3.0 look like? The funny thing about Web 2.0 and the internet today is that you can actually only own one thing on the internet today, right? And that one thing that you can own is your domain name. That is the only thing you own at this particular point. If you have a website and you're putting content on the website, you don't own that content, because technically in the internet, they can shut you down, which is when you get the nice smiley face, this is from YouTube, that says your content's no longer there and they're not sharing your particular content because you never own it, right? You are part of the content that generates the curated content for Web 2.0, but you don't control that by any stretch of the imagination. The only thing you own is a domain name. And that's what changes with the metaverse completely, because in the metaverse, you're not just going to be able to own your content or your domain name, you're able to own the digital assets that are inside of the metaverse, the actual pixels itself. You can physically or digitally own. So when you go into a game, for instance, you can literally buy the world that you create in the game and resell it, right? When you create art or you create technology inside of it, whether it's sound, whether it's videos, you can technically own that. And that is what you see today with NFTs, right? It's the ability to be able to sell and own these digital assets. So if you create it and then somebody else then sells it for you or distributes it for you, you automatically get a portion of that revenue because you always own the asset all the way through. You never lose it. And that's what's so exciting about Web 3.0 in general, is that it's not just owning a domain name, you own the world and you can create those particular worlds yourself and the assets in front of that, which is also why when I talk about technology in the metaverse, it is not just about VR. VR is a portion of it, obviously. It is also about learning the economics and how to be able to enable the economics in the metaverse, which is blockchain in general, is what we'll be able to use. So how do you do that? What are the skills that you need to be able to be an architect, a creator in this world, not just a consumer, which there are many consumers in this particular world. And what my mission is to be able to create more architects, more creators, to be able to really own the metaverse and find the opportunities in the metaverse. If you see this list here, it is a very broad list, right? You will need the skills to be able to do 3D art and to be able to build materials inside of the metaverse. And that is learning skills that today is Photoshop, Illustrator, XD, many of the Adobe suite of products out there, Blender, things of that nature. You'll also need skills in environmental design and architecture because you're building worlds. They may be virtual worlds, but also with mixed reality, you have to integrate these virtual worlds potentially with the physical world. So understanding how those interact together is very important. Obviously, animation is necessary. We're going to animate many things inside of the virtual world. You need to know effects, how to use sound, how to use music, how to be able to use voice and control those in it. From a programming perspective, C# is the main tool that people use to build scripts in many of the game engines that are out there. And there are two game engines that are used predominantly. It's Unity and also Unreal. Those are the two major engines. Unreal is owned by Epic, and Unreal uses actually C++, not necessarily C#, but that's changing over time. You'll need to know game design, how to actually have people interact inside of a game. What are the mechanics of being able to do that? You obviously need to know project management, how to do software engineering, how to test, how to manage different versions, the basic blocking and tackling of technology you need to learn. But you also need to know about human interaction. How we interact with each other is really, really important. What is the dynamics? What is the ethics of being able to interact in these particular worlds, right? How inclusive are we in these spaces? Obviously, data is very critical. It fuels everything, and the need to be able to understand AI and to be able to use AI effectively. IT critical and DevOps. And then lastly, which is not a technology skill, but it's being patient, having the right attitude, being patient and working through a lot of these technology challenges, but also human challenges, the ability to fail and to do it very fast, but to be able to keep learning and to be incessantly curious, because as you can tell, I showed you the history of just VR. That's not that old. We're only in 11 years, right? And we're still in the very, very front of the industry at this point. So new things will be introduced. And when new things introduce, our ability to learn those new things is going to be very, very critical as we engage with the metaverse's architects and creators. Here's a couple of use cases that I wanted to share, which are use cases today for virtual reality and some of the leading innovators in virtual reality today. So it's every industry that you can imagine. In cinema, for instance, watching movies in virtual reality where it's 360 degrees versus just the 2D screen in front of you. Yesterday, I previewed a film that was done in complete 360 immersive, and it's a totally different experience. Unfortunately, it was a horror movie, so I'm not going to be able to sleep for a couple of days because I'll remember all the things in the horror movie. But that, it's hopefully the other things than that in the future. For health, mental health, there's a lot of meditation apps today. For sports training, many of our professional athletes are using virtual reality to improve their motor skills and to be able to, their reaction times. It's one of the most popular things today in virtual reality. In the medical profession, for pain relief, many people are using it to be able to alleviate PTSD. For mental health, we see it obviously in travel, which is very normal. Architecture, automotive design, Volvo, Porsche, Mercedes, all of these companies are very much looking for XR developers to be able to help because it's a collaborative virtual design of automotives. You see it in social networking. It's a big deal, as you know, with Facebook and so Altspace, which is owned by Microsoft. Many of the meetings now are starting to occur in a virtual reality space. So we're physically talking in Zoom, but everybody's tired of Zoom. So now we're going into a virtual world where we're actually interacting with each other, going into a conference room, all in a virtual world. There are court cases that are being done in virtual reality where, you know, the judge is a virtual reality avatar and everybody else in the courtroom is also in that space. Journalism is important. Obviously, data visualization, you name it. It is a very, you know, we hear about gaming, obviously, very, very heavily. So every technology is really affected or every industry is affected by VR. Blockchain, and there's use cases, blockchain in the virtual reality. I gave you a little bit of an overview of the metaverse, but the problem, not a problem, but today in VR, you're not actually be able to do a lot of commerce, but to monetize the metaverse, you're going to need to use blockchain. So I gave you some possibilities about how you use the metaverse and how you use blockchain to be able to do that. Everything from advertising to actually securing the virtual world to creating monetization of content, live experience where you're not going to a concert in physical anymore. You're going to a concert where it's virtual and therefore they want to charge you ticket prices, you know, for that. So all of those are potential use cases for blockchain today. This is the product I developed. It's called Alcove. I'll play it. I don't know if the sound will come out here, but I'll give it my best shot. I think I shared sound. Let me play that so at least you'll see what's happening. Can you hear the sound? If you can, just do a thumbs up.
Yes.
On
Yes.
this. Okay, cool. So we created this world for older adults. You can play games in it, but you can do it together by joining together. You can share your photos as if you're sitting in the same living room together with somebody else. You can watch TV together inside of virtual reality and watch movies together. We have like a TV screen there. You can travel the world and experience things around the world together with your loved ones. This is one of our most popular things where you can dive and swim the Great Barrier Reef. But obviously everything also for mental health, like meditation, guided meditations. And you can even create your own pet and play with your own pet inside of inside of our world today. Play music, listen to music. All of those things are available today in Alcove. And then you can change your environment. If you want this to be in a meadow versus an ocean, you can change your room. All of those things are available for you within Alcove. And this is just the very, very beginning of it that won an award. That's mind-boggling to me because there's so many more things that you can do on this. Let me just end this video at this point and move to the next one. And this is Microsoft's version. And this is Microsoft launched the HoloLens a few years ago, about 3 years ago now. And this is their video about how you can use the HoloLens. Everything you see in this video is actually doable today. So it's not just a futuristic look, it's actually doable today.
Connection is a spark that gives our lives meaning. It drives us to seek out others who feel the same way.
Okay, why don't you input the data and we'll take a look together. Hey Mari, what you got for me?
To find those who share our views, yet offer different perspectives.
So this next.
Look over here.
Challenge us with new ways of seeing.
And I think we should.
Deepen our understanding. And enrich our lives.
最后一笔的时候，往前
Great things happen when we commit to something bigger than ourselves.
take a closer look at it.
Place this here. Let's see how we go from there, okay?
This sense of collaboration and the feelings of connection it brings excites us.
Hey, just in time. I'm gonna move it slightly, okay?
That's your worst take.
We have two planes right now on the same trajectory.
As we put people first, technology fades into the background. It feels like anything but.
Aisha, what do you think?
At 3:30, maintain 2800. We'll be clear for approach.
This
Excellent.
changes the way we see the world, and in turn, changes the world we see.
These numbers are looking great, actually.
There's promise in the possibilities. And what we see and create next will stretch the imagination.
Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Slowly coming towards the top.
A world without boundaries.
Good job. A lot better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Excellent. Slowly bring
A
the
world where technology enhances, not limits, humanity. With people front, center, and in the spotlight. The future is here. And here can be anywhere. Introducing Microsoft Mesh.
Oops. So I hope you found those videos interesting and exciting, and saw what the possibilities are from a technology perspective. But the end of the day, this is not about different technology just for the sake of technology. It's what does this mean to you individually, wherever you are today? You know, is it about technology? Is it about design and being able to introduce and play with design principles? Is it about how immersion will motivate the user, change their minds potentially, or improve their lives? Those are the questions you have to ask to see what is the pathway to be involved in being part of being a creator and an architect, kind of in this new world. So those are questions hopefully that you're asking about yourself, not just as it relates to this technology and this revolution, but generally as we look at IT in general, and why we build products and why we create technology. So next steps, I wanted to at least share a couple of things. Take a class is the first one. We're launching in a few, in January, classes that help people start their pathway in becoming creators and developers in virtual reality. It will all be in Zoom and in a virtual world, and together our goal is to be able to take this class with a few initial cohorts, and make sure the technology is available for everyone to be able to take this. I would obviously love for those of you who are here to be part of that particular cohort, but that's just to share you know, what's happening in the future. You can take classes already that are actually free in Unity. You can go to unity.com, which is one of the game engines, and go to the learn side. It's completely free to also use the software. As long as you're not making more than $1 million from the software, it's free. Afterwards, they start charging you, which is fair. But there's many pathways that you can learn from the unity.com site. Lots of Udemy courses. You can obviously watch YouTube videos, and you know, there's a lot of great tutorials on Udemy. And not the best of kind of putting this all together in a managed, controlled pathway, which is what we're going to try to do in January, is to be able to build kind of a 32-week pathway to be able to go from just learning about the VR and metaverse, and to be able to get you to the end of the 32 weeks fully ready to take on a job, regardless of where you are in the world. you know, as a developer, as a designer, as a project manager or product manager inside of VR, wherever your interest leads you in this particular space. With that, my slide is over. I know we have about 15 minutes left, but I wanted to be able to open it up for questions. I hope that is okay.
Thanks a lot, Paolo. Actually, it is very important. This topic, it is also very important for people who are affected by brain attacks. You mentioned that, and I think it is very important for us because it is hard to all of us to travel and live the experience. So it opens many doors for us, whatever living in a new community. And I think this technology helps us in different fields like education and peace building, especially in this moment. So thanks a lot, and I will ask if anyone have a question.
Actually, I do have a question. Bilal is here. You said
Bilal,
about
تفضل.
class that will launching in January. So is it paid or free courses? And how to join the courses?
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. It is completely free. And one of the reasons why we want to do it free is because sometimes the cost, the friction of having to pay for something is not available for everybody. And the goal for us is to do this purely on merit, and to get somebody ready to go. The revenue model for us is that when they get a job, the employer actually pays us because there's a shortage of developers in this space. So it's completely free, but it's free from a cost dollars perspective, but it's a big commitment for the people in the class, right? So it's not free from your time and from your commitment, but free from a dollar standpoint.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Paolo.
Yes. Muaz.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Hello, Mr. Paolo. I'm so glad to meet you today and hear from you this informative information about NFT or blockchain or XR or metaverse. I'm so interested in that field, and I'm Muaz. I don't know if Ms. Rama mentioned me before. I am founder of Electrogami. I was starting building a community to teach youth how can they build their own toys with their own innovation without limitation, using origami and robotics. But my vision, it was also introduce art or robotics art that gets built in the NFT and metaverse. And really, because NFT market, based on my knowledge, because I'm already searching about that, the NFT mean that this special art, it's not be applicable to copy it again. Someone can buy this and another one will buy this because there's only one or two or 10 kind of this art. There's no many kind of art like this. So the special things for electrogami concept that really I would to explain it or show it for you, that we can build one robot controllable by phone or something like that, and we can enter it to an NFT market. And I tried to make something like that, or on Twitter I do something like that, and really I got a huge impression, or some people interest in what I'm working, because I make handmade or something like you mentioned it, real world. How could connect real world with metaverse and control it by virtual reality or mixed reality? So I would like to show you what I make I'm trying to mix between reality and virtual reality, but still only we did origami robots controlled by phone. Could I share with you short video now? Or
I will leave it up to Bashar to make the decision, but I'm happy to see it either now or afterwards. You know, and connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll get a Zoom together and we can see it. Whichever works for Bashar. Bashar, I'll leave it up to you since you're the moderator.
Yes, Muaz, you can share your video.
Yeah, thanks so much. I will. And I'm very sorry. This is, but in Arabic now, but I will share only without sound the video itself and how it's. Are you see? Did you see my screen? Are you?
Yes.
Seeing? Yeah. This is our. We make like rest break. And I will show you something else. 1 minute. I'm sorry. We make like that robot. I am one MIT React student alumni. I graduated with one of computer and data science MIT program. So I make like this robot. This robot is in MIT University. 1 minute. Can you see this robot?
معاذ يمكن باولو فقد الاتصال بالإنترنت وقع.
Paolo, he is not here. Now, Mr. Paolo, you are.
I lost internet for a second.
Yeah. Can you see my robot? This is me, and this is robot specially made by hand for MIT. Yani in the background, there's MIT logo on this robot made by as an art, robotics art that can move it and control it, and that youth can build like this robot. So, and I would really love to enter this world and electrographic world to augmented reality and mixed reality, even that to NFT market to sell like this maybe arts. Last time I see that some of NFT arts reached the cost around $1 million, or I don't remember the price, but there's many NFT arts that's so expensive, but there's no assets for them as a real, only as an art. So this is what I think, to make an electrographic concept with NFT market, that every NFT could be sold, but there's an real assets for it. This is my opinion. And really, thank you. I would love to hear your feedback and other questions. Thank you so much.
Most, that's incredible. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And it's a great example of kind of NFTs and what the demand looks like. I think there's so much you could do with this, right? As well. So I'd love to get everybody else's feedback, but I think this is exactly what it should be created, and how this works. So, and I think there's ways to make this both a physical asset itself, right? But in essence, owning the virtual asset, or being able to share the virtual asset with that physical origami robot is fantastic. So it's very, very impressive.
Yeah, thanks so much. I would love to talk more with you about that, because really, my vision is to help refugees to know about NFT, and this robot can be built by hand by refugees or poor people, and we can sell it on NFT market by Ethereum or something like that, and we can support. We can make an like non-profit or charity and charity, something like charity that NFT based Instagram and helping other people. This is what
Let's take a look at a website. It's called Imprint Space, and it's this one is about artisanal crafts, and what the goal of Imprint Space is to do also kind of move that into an NFT, right? So this is exactly the same business model, but yeah, we would love to learn more and to to see how this can be extended even more. And I will leave for everybody. Please reach out anytime. I'll give you my LinkedIn connection and feel free to reach out. I am very honored to be able to do that.
Thanks a lot, Paolo. Yusuf has a question.
Hello, Mr. Paolo. Thank you so much for the webinar. It was very informative. I had two questions. I will only ask one just now for the lack of time. I will just ask about the bad side effects of metaverse. I mean, probably you heard about it a lot. I will specify the separation between the human being and the real human interaction. You said that when you gather with your family and you use the virtual reality, that you can go anywhere. I would say that if you gather with your family again without the virtual reality, doesn't that make the meeting like boring and like you just want to go back to the technology? And I don't know how to say it, but yeah, that was my own.
You're absolutely correct, Yusuf. There's never ever a replacement for physical connections and being together in the same physical space. I work a lot with older adults who in the pandemic, they were not able to see their families because of the quarantine and the mandates and the risk. And so the virtual space is really the only place they could get together. But that is just a replacement. That is not the ideal. The ideal is that we're all physically connected as well. The challenge for us from a technology perspective is the virtual does expand us and allows us to be able to not only from experience, the economic perspective, lots of other things that we can achieve virtually. The challenge for us, and it's one of the reasons why I talked about human interaction and design and ethics, is because that actually is also the challenge. Just because we can create it doesn't mean we should just do it, right? We as creators and architects need to think about these. And you raise such a very important issue and how to make sure that it doesn't replace the need for humans to have the physical connection. I don't think it will, only because it's a human need to have a physical connection, but it's a challenge and we need to consider that. So very great question.
Thank you so much for the answer.
Mr. Paolo, you mentioned something about classes will start at January, maybe. How we can register or join these classes?
Yeah, more to come. I'm working through all of those details, but definitely I will share that very soon.
Okay. Thanks. Does anyone has a question? No questions. I think everything is clear and there's no more questions. So do you want to add anything, Mr. Paolo?
No, I just want to thank you all for getting the chance to meet you, at least virtually today. I am such an honor, and I'm every time I do this, I'm even more inspired by the time I'm over, right? So it's been a real blessing for me. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to meet everyone.
All the thanks for
Thank
you,
you
Mr.
too.
Paolo. In fact, we wanted to share more and interact more with you, but the whole thing is still new for us. We don't know that much. We didn't participate. None all of us has a technological experience. I'm a pharmacist, for example. I don't know anything about technology in metaverse or VR or whatever you're saying. So I'm learning something new today. Thank you for that chance. Thank you very much.
Mr. Paolo, could I ask something? I want to ask first, is there what is the difference between a cryptocurrency and metaverse? I see some of companies for like cheaper or some cryptocurrency that already built on a game basis or metaverse game, and they sell NFT and they make a cryptocurrency. So how could someone start in this more? Is your suggestion to start in XR and mixed reality? Then we can start in cryptocurrency or like that, or NFT. If we have already the project and if we have already the art.
Yeah, so that's a great question. There's lots of platforms, or I shouldn't say lots, but there are beginning to be very reputable platforms that allow for creators to be able to develop commerce within those particular platforms. Many of the things I talked about from a metaverse perspective isn't actually developed yet, right? Where it's going to be a collection of worlds, and so. But there are already places that have started, platforms that have started, or worlds that have started that are reputable in this space. I don't have them all on the top of my head, but I can certainly send out a list of the ones that I find reputable, where you can interact. One of the best places that, because I use it personally, is Voice. It's Voice HQ. Just Voice, VOICE, and HQ. One of the best places for creators. And the platform is there. They're what we call gas fees. It's the minting fees are very, very inexpensive. And they have a wide network of creators. I use it. I actually have a few products, a few of my art in Voice, and I've enjoyed that experience. But there are more than Voice. Voice is just one of them, happens to be my favorite, but doesn't mean it's the only one that's out there, and there are others as well. I'm happy to share that.
It's that website, it's like OpenSea. And there's like website OpenSea that you can.
But yes, it's very similar, but it's not. It's very artisanally focused. So you want to be in a world where, it's not everything. It's not just games. It's, it's not crazy things like, I did a signature and I made it an NFT. That's a little ridiculous sometimes. And that's what OpenSea is. It's very broad. Voice HQ is much more focused on creators and what I would consider to be artisanal work. That to me is why it works, in my opinion. But they're all very new, so and there's no manipulation. In OpenSea, there's a lot of manipulation, not much. And I don't want to talk about OpenSea negatively, because there's a lot of positive things about OpenSea as well. But because of, I think people who are artisanal, I just expect a different experience, right? And a different level of user experience. So that's where I think Voice HQ works very well.
Yeah, thanks so much.
I think there's no more questions. Muad, do you want to add Anything?
Yeah, I would love only, yeah, really, I would love to arrange an appointment with and meeting with Mr. Bolo and talk more, because really I have an idea to, for NFT, especially for robots. I tried something, but the gas fee is so expensive. But I would love to make, it's so easy for me to make art, robotics art that shows specific famous cryptocurrency like Chibo or other like Sol or something like that. I can make a robot for their vision or for the specific art that we can sell it on NFT market. So I would love to talk more about that, because really maybe it's a good business will be for that support many refugees or support us and support in business wise and in charge wise, or yeah, this is what I would love.
Yeah, no, definitely. If you send me a LinkedIn, I will send you mine. Bashar, don't hesitate to share it. And
yeah,
because also I'd like to, when we do a time together, I'd also like to bring in other people who this is where they specialize in, and just to hear what you're trying to do. I think it's important for them to hear that and see it.
yeah, okay. Muad, do you want to add or finished?
Really, thank you. So I think the internet for Mr. Baulu, there's a problem with the internet, right?
Mr. Paolo, you still in this session? يمكن مو معنا، ما بعرف مبين اسمه.
I would add something if anyone have a question or interested in. Hello? Hello?
معك يا معاذ، بس يمكن فقد الاتصال لأنه مو موجود اسمه. يمكن ما بتوقع يمكن يقدر ينضم لنا مرة ثانية. ف يمكن الإنترنت عنده مشكلة بالإنترنت، فهو الوقت بكل الأحوال انتهى. صارت الساعة 6، فاللي بيحب يغادر يغادر.
تمام، شكرا كثير جميعا. شكرا رأيكم.
شكرا معاذ.